Okay, now you can see our beautiful faces. Yep, that's me on the
Yeah.
left. I'm pretty sure that 95% of you out there right now haven't seen what I look like before. So that's uh, that's me on the left. I do live in the mountains of Colorado, so they issue a beard to you when you move out here. So that's what's been going on with me when I was down in Florida. I did not have that. But so now that we can see this, we'll move on to the first slide, the first real slide. So here's what, just kind of what we'll be going over today, some of the new things. Phone numbers have been added to the shipping tab. We'll show you where that is. We can now print adjustment forms, which is for our credits and debits pages. So that's been implemented. We now have the option to hide or show your deleted orders. Before in the system, we were seeing any order that you would delete would still be visible, but it would have a big red line through it. We can now manage whether or not we see those. Late case warnings are going to now show up. Those will be alerts. We'll go over, we'll see those pop up when we're going through a case here. Only print the statements that you want. What that refers to is now in the PDF folder that your statements come in, the first number that's going to be in the title of the statement is actually going to be the balance of the statement. So you'll be able to see whether that there's a negative, a zero, or a positive balance. That way you can use the print conductor to choose which ones you'd like to print. We now have the next slide, which will be, we have the ability to print custom reports. That goes into the line, or along the lines of, we can use that to print out notes from orders, and we can also use that to print labels in addition to work tickets. In the last few iterations of VisualDLP, you only had the ability to print one work ticket, and that either had to be a label or more of traditional work ticket. Now you can do both. So you can have your more traditional work ticket as well as a label configured as a custom report. Export doctors is a little more robust now. We'll go over some of the new features. It's good, especially now that the holidays are coming up. We have a suggestion for you guys to get some of your doctors out of there that may be some of your better customers, if you want to send them some sort of end of the year card or something like that. Total production days added, that's going to be when we get into talking about the workflows. And I'll show you, it's a little more user-friendly now that we're using days allocated in the schedule rather than time blocks. It's the same concept, it's just a little bit of a different way to look at it now. A little simplified version than what used to be in DL+. Doctor description added to invoice and work ticket. Some of us were having trouble getting. We now have I guess the short story about this is that we now have a way to put the correct doctor titling in front of their name. I know a lot of you have said these guys go to school for a long time to get called doctor. Sometimes in the way we had it set up, you'd have to actually put the word doctor in front of their first name. This doctor description enables us to just kind of get their name onto their invoices the way that the doctor wants to see them. And then the workflows that we'll go over, production lanes in the lab. We're going to do a little discussion on how this relates to scheduling. The new system or the new method in VisualDLP is a lot simpler, a lot easier to configure than it ever was in DL+. And we'll talk about how one product can have the many workflows. So after we get through that, we'll do a Q&A. like I was talking about. And then that about does it for the PowerPoint presentation. So we'll go ahead and let's we'll go ahead and finish the slideshow here, and we'll get into VisualDLP. So what I'm using for this demonstration purposes is just a demo lab that we have configured. Just some of the fake data that you'll be seeing in here. It's configured so we can kind of display what we want to show you right now. The first thing before we actually start clicking around in here that I'd like to mention, though, is that the overall system itself within the last update, the save function used to take roughly 3 seconds to save an order. Now with the new update, it takes less than 1 second to save an order. So we're pretty proud of that improvement. The overall system is moving faster, and it's continuing to get better every day. So let's just go down that PowerPoint list that I was just discussing, and I'll actually show you what we were talking about. The first thing that was on that list was the phone numbers have been added to the scheduling, to the shipping tab. Before, we did not have the numbers here, and this was a request we had from multiple labs. So when you are on an actual order using the system, if you need to make a call, you can just, instead of having to go now back into finance accounts and look up their phone number, you can actually just click the shipping tab right here, and the order inquiry number is different than the personal number, in that questions for the order should be directed to the order inquiry. If you need to just call the lab for general purpose, that would be the personal number up there. So pretty simple, straightforward sort of change there. Now, in order to demonstrate the next one, I'll need to invoice this order. So we'll go ahead and just get that taken care of. You kind of see what that looks like. So now that we've invoiced the order, we have the ability to credit it, and now we can print that credit. So a couple different methods, but let's credit it directly from the order here. So let's say we've got total charge on this order of $582.50. Let's go ahead and credit this order. Now the screen will see when the credit pops up. We'll just say that we're gonna give them this Bruxer for free. Reason, credit test reason. We'll save. So now we've added a credit to this order. If the client does in fact want a copy of that, what we can do now is we can check out our adjustments for the day. So finance adjustments. Looks like we just made a credit, and so we'll see them pop up here. This is the one we just made. You can click on it, and now we have a new button at the top to print these adjustments. So there you go. So that was the second feature to the update. If the credit is issued within the same billing period, then we can just simply delete it if we need to. So for our purposes here, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it out just to show you how simple that is. in case we accidentally made a mistake. So back to the order. And we're good as new. So now the next thing that I'd like to touch on was the deleted orders have been hidden. So let's get back to our order entry screen. We've added a button over here on the right, show deleted. Right now I have it turned off, so you can't see it. But if I were to turn it on, you see this one right here listed in red. That's going to be one of our deleted orders. It doesn't ever actually delete it in the traditional sense. There'll still be a record of it, and we do have a use case for some of these, you know. So if you don't want to see them, simply switch that button. And the same thing works for the search as well. So let's see, I think we've got it configured to search for Bobby here. So you can see when I do a search for Bobby, the dynamic search brings back anything that sounds like Bobby or is close to Bobby. So we get a Bobby McGee here and a Bob Smith here. But let's go ahead and show the deleted ones as well. By just simply clicking that button, we can see that we have 3 other results in the search that have been deleted in the past. So, and then we've got a Bobby here, a Bob, and a Bob. And that's what it found it on. So that's kind of a neat little function if you're trying to find something that maybe someone deleted that shouldn't have been deleted. And also gives you the ability to not have to stare at all the deleted stuff in that list. So that's just a neat little function. We can clear the search results out here with that button and bring us back right to our order entry list. Now, you've seen me when I'm clicking into this, this case, we're getting an alert that pops up. Now this is a new feature actually. I've got it configured to pop up every single time. I know that can be a little annoying, if you're clicking around in cases and stuff. So what actually we've decided for the next update, there'll be the ability to just set that alert to pop up at certain times. Not every time you click back into the case, but maybe when you save the case, rather than just clicking into it. So I don't want anyone to get worried about that being too annoying, but it is there. And what it's telling us is that we're just not going to have enough time to finish this case because it was due yesterday. So that's our warning to contact the doctor that his case is going to be late. Another very interesting and cool thing that works way better than it did in DL Plus, and this was actually a question I got from some of the fellows over in RTG the other day, and this is about the scheduling over here on the side. And since we're on this page, I'll kind of show you how this works. Now what we have here is just a mock schedule for a few mock products. What's neat about this now is that if we decide that you know, we're going to actually pour the model today, we didn't do it on the 18th. I can click in here, and we're going to pick the 21st to be our new date. Once we do that, it's going to ask us if we'd like to move all the activities that follow that one by the same amount. So you don't have to go down through and change every single date on every single activity by hand, the way you used to in DL Plus. If this is the case, we will just say, yeah, let's go ahead and adjust them all by 3 days, because since the poor model was late, and then it'll kind of do a little thinking there. It's still telling us we're still late, but now we can do the poor model today. And so that gives us 3 days to do that and have the articulate wax up, and you can see how it kind of pushed everything 3 days out. So that's a pretty cool little feature. Now let me show you, let's let's see the next on the list. Print statements you want. I believe I have a statements folder open. If you guys have ended the month in VisualDLP, then you know what this folder looks like. For those of you who haven't, this is a folder that has, excuse me, 1 month's statements in it. And as we can see at the beginning here, that's actually the balance on the statement. So Andy's dental office has a $100 balance. Brian Bray has $225, but up here, Brick Dentistry has a negative $15. That means they just have a $15 credit on their account. You can decide whether or not to print that through our print conductor. If you were to just need to print out the ones with a positive balance, simply select all those and print. We can leave these other 2 off. The print conductor makes it a little easier to pick and choose than just the folder. But now you can see what the balance is, so you don't have to waste any paper printing out any zero balanced accounts or negative accounts. Get back out of that. Let's see, custom reports. Now what we have here, and those of you that are familiar with, I'll talk about it before I start clicking on it. Those are you familiar with DL Plus. We had a custom report in there you could print by pressing Control-O. A lot of people use this as a label to go with the case. Some people use it for different things, but mostly the thing people seem to be the most excited about is the capability to print a label in addition to the work ticket. So not only can we print the work ticket now, but we can also print custom reports, and you can have multiple ones in here. I don't have a label configured because those are very unique to each lab. But what I do have is an order notes log, so we can just kind of see, I think I've got a test note on this, but if you needed to print out any of the notes that were on here, I'll show you where that is. That's what we just printed basically. And we'll add that one just so you can see it. There you go. Now, the next area I'd like to touch on is the exporting doctors. So let's see here. We're going to go into people. We're going to go into doctors. And when we get to our doctors list, you'll notice these lines up here. So let's go ahead and export our doctors. What we have here is a grid, which is now fully customizable as to what you export. Again, check out the 3 lines over here on the right. And if you click this open, actually come down here and choose which ones you'd like to appear in your export. So if for some reason we didn't need their first name, if you just simply click here, it takes away the first name column. Let's click again, bring it back. And if you, once you've decided what you want on your, so we don't need their mobile phone number either. We don't need the date created, and we don't need is at risk. Once you've decided which columns you need and don't need, then what you'll do is export visible data to Excel. If you do all, it's going to bring everything, even whether it's checked or not, but you'll want to do the visible. When you do that, it'll bring up a dialog for you to save your Excel sheet. Now, we've had a few questions or a few requests for like a doctor ranking report in order to kind of sort these doctors by the highest sales down through the lowest sales, figure out who gets a Christmas card or, you know, the Thanksgiving turkey or whatever we're doing for the holidays this year. But I was talking to Andy before this, and he said that if we wanted to try to identify some doctors, that we'd be we don't have this built in to the system quite yet, but in order to get it ready for the holidays, if you wanted to contact us and say, you know, every doctor that spent, you know, over X amount of dollars with us this past year, we'd like to mark them as a VIP. And we can use this flag down here, is VIP. If they've met a certain threshold through the year, we can mark them as that, and that way we can click this on or click this off when we're printing out your doctors in your system, and that way you can get a good list of maybe, you know, who you want to send your holiday cards to this year. Coming up in a future update, we'll actually give you a button on the side that'll let you set the threshold for what is considered a VIP. You'll be able to manage that from your side. But for the time being, since, you know, we're literally a week away from Thanksgiving, we'll help you identify which ones we would consider VIPs if you needed to get a list out like that. So let's see. That being said, we'll kind of move away from this doctor export and check out some workflow stuff here. I know this is something that a lot of people are interested in. So let me get to the correct page. Good workflow to look at in this one, I think, is our zirconia crown. So in the old system, a few things were pretty complicated. You would create a product and then you would add a schedule to that product, and that was that product's schedule. In VisualDLP, we look at it a little bit differently, because in talking to some labs, we found that a lot of people just have what we call swim lanes, or, you know, a production lane. Maybe a lab really only, they might sell 100 products, but they really only have about 10 or 20 different production lanes that they have, swim lanes. And that's where you can create these lanes, which are called workflows. So what we've done is instead of calling them time blocks, we have days allocated. So we can see right here that this workflow takes 14 days, 2 weeks. And that's just a sum of these days allocated here on the left. Now you can see we can change these days if it only takes a day to schedule it. Let's see, we can make that free. Takes a little longer to unpack. But let's go ahead and make that one so we can see the date change itself. And we'll save that workflow. And we can see now that our days allocated are just 12, because I took, so that's how you manage how long a workflow takes. Now, you can see here on the side, the schedule order. Let me get this chat window up here. So anyway, in DL Plus, you had to have one of these for each product. The cool thing about this is we can just create one of these workflows, and we can tell it can go on as many products as we want. So this workflow right here in our demo database is just attached to 3 different products. And we can see that it's attached to it as the default workflow. Now, when we were to add one of these products to a case, zirconia image, so it would bring up this workflow first. But if we had other workflows attached to the product, we'd be able to select that one if maybe it was a rush or something that we could take our time on for whatever reason. So instead of having, I guess what I'm just trying to impress upon you is that you don't have to configure a workflow for every single product in your system. You can just configure a workflow for the different production lanes that you have in your lab and then attach those to the products by using the days allocated. And then let's also just touch on the schedule order as well. Whatever you put here, it's going to order it that way. But since we have 2 of the same number, what it does is it orders it alphabetically. If we wanted this unpack to be in front of schedule, we should probably make schedule. Let's see, let's do that 150. Let's see what happens there. Move this around. There. There we go. There we go. Now it put it in the order for us that we wanted. Let me get back to the Zirc. Do the 5-day one next, just so you can see. So now we also have this Zirc alternate 5-day production. This is the Rush attached to the same products, Zirconia Imagine. So let's go ahead and add that Zirconia Imagine to a case so you can just kind of see where the workflows are. Go back to order entry. And let's go to this case here. It's still going to be late. Oh, we've already got it there. So we'll just go down here. And you can see that we have the different workflows we can choose from. So this one needs to be a little quicker than normal. We know that the normal Zirconia crown, we adjusted it to 12 days, but we know that this is the 5-day schedule. So we can just set that there, save it, and it'll change our schedule over here on the side as it saves. There you go. I know the workflows seem sort of intimidating at first, but they're you get the hang of it. It's fairly intuitive. So we'll just go look at this one more time. And if you were to need to add or remove the activities from your workflow, you decided that maybe the pour model was not, or the design was not really something you needed, and there you can simply just click it and drag it and take it out of the schedule. Whatever you needed to add back in, the ones over here on the right that are in green, we can, let's say we needed to take that out, we got to put in a process instead. So we'll move that up here between mill. There we go. And it's as simple as that. And then one other thing that we'll touch on here is that we've added the doctor description to the invoice and work ticket. So if you guys are having any issues with the way your doctor names are appearing on your forms, just let us know and we can get that resolved for you pretty quickly now without having to add that DR dot to the beginning of their first name. We've actually got that configured properly now. So those were the main bullet points, and we've been going for about 30 minutes now. So if anyone had any questions or anything, I went too fast, or I was trying to go slowly through the points, and just let me know and we can answer those now. Or
Yep.
Todd, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. If you have any questions, you can unmute your line or just pop it in the chat window. Ron, did you go through any of the questions that came up or people entered on the form?
Yeah, that was the workflows that I was doing.
Okay.
That's the main concern that most people seem to have, is getting these configured. So that's why I spent a little more time on that at the end, even though we really haven't done too much of an update on that.
Okay. As long as we covered all those, that'd be great.
Yeah, unless I missed something.
All right, here's a question. I have a question in regards to the VIP aspect you discussed. Will we be able to set VIP tiers? That's from Sarah.
That I don't. As of right now, it's simply a flag that's a 0 or a 1. So it's either a yes or a no, true or false. But that's a great idea. So explain to me a little bit more what your VIP tiers would be. Would that be something like, if they spent $100 to $500, they're a bronze member?
I mean, we could look at it anyway. We could look at it on a monthly basis or even on an annual or even quarterly basis. But if they send a volume of X amount, they would be VIP 1. Slightly lower than that, VIP 2, and lower than that, VIP 3.
Right. Okay. So different like status levels of
Correct.
Their VIP. Okay. I don't think we have a plan for that, but what we've been doing is that we have a Jira ticketing system that we're using for development with all of these suggestions. And since they're going to be working on getting this VIP function in place, can put in a ticket to see if there's a way that you'd be able to configure the thresholds for that. So yeah, that's
Okay.
it doesn't work that way now, but that's definitely something that I can bring to the developers and let them know. And I've got my notes for the meeting right here that will
Okay.
be number
All
one.
right. People are chiming in now.
Okay.
Here's a question from David. If my workflow is to send the case to another lab for production, a few of the production steps, and the other lab is VisualDLP, is there any data connection to keep continuity with the other lab?
Okay. Let me get to that question real quick. My workflow is to send the case to another lab for a few production steps, and the other lab is on VisualDLP. Oh, so like linking the cases together in a...
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, David, off the top of my head. Here, let me get back to you.
I'll chime in, David, a little bit.
I could say that, let's say we were going to send something to China, we would just build in X days. But
Right.
if it was one of our sister labs, it'd be nice to be able to not have to have a second case. Or if there was a second case at our sister lab, that there would be some connection between the two.
Yeah.
Right, without them logging into the same system as, I see what you're saying. So we're like sort of kind of like porting the case into a new system, but flagging it as a Yeah, let me see.
I mean, you know our situation, but it could also work if we were like a standalone lab and we were going to send it to another lab that wasn't a sister lab that had VisualDLP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion. So that would be sort of like a kind of a case migration, sort of.
Yeah. To speak to that, because we have talked about it, David, right now we're really talking practice to lab communication, and you're really talking lab to lab or lab to design systems.
Correct.
Design center, lab to manufacturer, back to lab. And we're now that EasyRx and Jenmar are together, we're trying to build this whole platform, and we totally want to support that. It's not today, but we're a platform to connect EasyRx and Jenmar right now, and that platform is going to support this, because that, it may be a what if they're a Magic Touch lab and you want to share a case with a Magic Touch lab or a LabStar lab? We'd like to be able to support all of that, perhaps. So we're going to try to build this middle platform where we can share data.
Sounds
with
great.
The first being EasyRx to VisualDLP, and then VisualDLP to VisualDLP, or VisualDLP to a EasyRx lab. Yeah, we'd totally like to support that.
Okay, let's see.
April has a question.
We'd
like to be able to print doctor ranking under Insights. There's a great report that shows ranking and remake percentages, but we would like to be able to print that report. Excuse me.
Okay, I can take that request. So where it doesn't work to print now. So April would like to, under Insights, be able to print the ranking report print. And that seems like something that is totally reasonable. You should be able to print that out. So I'll add that to number 3.
Export it so that it can be saved.
Like exported in Excel. Let's
Correct.
see how it looks now. And this is under your
sales.
Sales. There we go. I might not have it in here. Let's just see what sales ranking. See, I don't have any data to display. It's like there should be an export right here on the side, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, that would make total sense, because it would just look like what I was showing you on the doctor export. Okay, I can almost guarantee that that's probably, now that they've got the doctor grid working that way, that to apply it to this would be relatively simple. So I'll bring that to Andy and see and let you know what a timeline is on getting that export capability. So I guess the short answer to that is April. I'll have Andy back to you on when that's going to happen. And then
question in regards to back to that Insights and sales. If I'm asking for, say, 3 months in a row, it just tabulates it as a combined dollar or sale. Are you able to just do it in individual months to see July, August?
You want to see like a monthly breakdown?
Correct.
Yeah, that's gonna be more of I think a custom report, or I shouldn't say it that way. It's going to be more of a report that we should have in the. It should be here. I don't know if we have the monthly sales in by account by month. So something more similar to this. Let's see. Let's go up. Let's do November of last year. So I don't know if I'm going to have the correct data. Here we go. I don't know if this breaks it out by month or not. So something more broken out like this.
Well, no, because I mean, if you're trying to rank them and then you want to do it over the last quarter, and then you export that into a spreadsheet, you really have to fiddle around with the
Yeah,
because
because
all
this
you
one's,
want is the volumes.
okay, yeah, you don't need it broken out into these
No.
departments.
Yeah, so I had our accountant do that for me last week, but he had to really like make that spreadsheet dance and do all sorts of fancy
Okay,
things with it,
okay,
which
yeah.
would have taken me
We
a
can,
week to do.
yeah, we can make that much more simplified. This, if we just need to, this is just a grouping sort of issue with this report. Let me get this down here. So we're going to say like a monthly sales breakdown, and who's speaking right now, so I can make sure I
Sarah
get back.
Fox with Shanto.
Sarah from Shanto. Okay. Okay. That'll be a report modification, a report that we can get to you
That'd be
pretty
fantastic.
quickly. Yeah. So we'll make sure that your person doesn't have to spend a week getting that data together.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll make that easier in the future for sure. Let's see.
Emily has a question, Ryan.
Okay. Emily, I had a question about statement labels. Love the dollar amount as part of the title, but without them being in alphabetical order is frustrating to find a statement when an account calls and has a question. Is there a plan to be able to move the dollar amount to the other end of? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so sorting, this falls under sorting. Sorting statements in the folder alphabetically. And I know that this is something they've been working on as far as getting that more streamlined. So Emily, I will let you know when the sorting is fixed on that, on those folders. I understand if you do have a couple hundred, it's probably pretty difficult to find them just by scrolling through a list. So we'll find a way to sort that better, or give you the proper tool in order to be able to find those more easily. So let me get with Andy and see what our workflow on that would be, and if we have a plan to sort those in a more logical fashion. So I will let you know about that. Emily, which lab are you at?
Hi, sorry, from Murray Kaiser.
Murray Kaiser. Okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
and I had, this is actually Hannah. Emily is here too.
Okay.
I had emailed Andy about it just because I do have a couple hundred accounts. So it is,
a
when I need
pain to look for them.
And they're like, they're frustrated with something on the statement to begin with. Then you have to be like, please hold.
Let me go track this down.
Like,
okay.
The most recent month in a file, like on my desktop, just so it is super quick.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll nudge him on that and see what the status is, and follow up with you here in the next day and let you know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. And then let's see. Donald is talking about yeah, absolutely, Donald. We're always looking for screenshots or any kind of suggestions, any kind of helpful. So if you want to, okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm not in my mail right now, so I'll check that. And
Donald, do you mean QuickBooks?
Yes.
Yeah. QuickBooks Online.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Perfect. Okay, well, I've got five things to follow up with here on the list. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Any more questions?
I guess I shouldn't say comments. Because we've been we've been going
50
for
minutes.
for almost close almost we're pushing an hour here, and I don't want to bore anyone to death. I know maybe gave a few people a couple opportunities for some nap time listening to my melodious voice. No, I hope it was not that painful for everyone. And what do you think, Todd? We plan to do these maybe once every.
Well, we may. I don't know. Maybe we'll do monthly or every other month. Depends on, I guess, how often we feel the need.
When the updates start to stack up and we want to go over some more stuff with you guys, we'll definitely schedule another one. And we thank you so much for coming out to this. This was very well attended for our first show. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining, and appreciate everyone using VisualDLP and being a Jenmar customer and joining. And we're going to try to do more of these just to communicate, and we'll get better at them each time we do it. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, guys. And if you have any questions outside this, I think everyone knows my email address, or send a question to support, and I'll follow up with these 5 points here within the next day once I've got something for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye-bye.